Hello, my name is Jen, and welcome to the welcome to the Book Refuge. We're just gonna leave that in because it was great. It was absolutely great. So this is a reading vlog. I haven't done one of these in a while. I realized I haven't done one since the beginning of April. And I like to try to do one of these once a month. They don't always have to have a specific theme or anything, but sometimes I just like to bring you guys along with me for a weekend. So my plan is to make this a weekend reading vlog and get it up next week. I don't have any like specific reading plans besides books that I want to read. So as you can tell, I don't have my makeup done yet. I don't have anything going up. I didn't sleep a lot last night. I don't want to say I slept badly because I woke up feeling like wide awake was the thing. But I didn't sleep a lot. I woke up way too early for a Saturday morning. But guess what? That just means I get to take a nap later in the day. And naps are not just for kids. So let's talk about the books that I am currently in the middle of. And then I'll tell you maybe what I'm thinking, but that might change once I get back from everything. So, because what the plan is that I'm really trying to be a bit more strict with my fitness and health again. Longtime viewers of this channel, wonderful friends, know that for the past 2 years I've been doing, and I have been very faithful about going to the gym, but I haven't been as faithful with having the like healthy eating and part going with it. So I'm really trying to be better with that again to kind of get me more towards some of my fitness goals. I know not everyone wants to hear about that, but I'm telling you because what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the gym and I am going to then stop at the grocery store to get a couple more things. My trainer gave me some meal suggestions and snack suggestions because that's my biggest problem is like snacking late at night. I read until very late at night. So when I eat dinner at 7, I'm usually hungry at like 11 or 12 when I should just go to bed. So I want to have some healthy snack options so that if I do have a snack that late at night, I'm not ruining all my progress during the day. Anyway, that's the plan. I got most of the groceries that I needed, but I did the drive up for the first time at Target because I was like, ooh, well, let me just grocery shop from my phone and then I'll just go pick it up. I wasn't a huge fan because I was like every other woman coming home from work waiting for the food to get delivered. And so it took about as long waiting as it would have been if I would have went in and got it. And since I'm not worried about being around people, it's like, well, next time I'll just go in. Or order it earlier in the day. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. But anyway, so what I will do is I'll go to the gym, go to the grocery store, come back. Then I will need to film my weekly videos because Saturdays are my film days. I try to make them my film days anyway. This summer so far, or spring, has been hard because I've had a lot of bachelorette parties and weddings, and there is more weddings still to come, and there's been baby showers, so it has kind of fucked with that a little bit, but that's okay. That's okay. So I'm very happy for all the people with life events, but they mess with my book reading schedule. Come on. So I'll get back, get myself beautiful. I'll film those. I'm going to try to film 3 videos. The plan is first I always start with my weekly wrap up, and then I have these are my filming books. I get them from Design Works. I've shared them before on Instagram because I'm not completely obsessed with like stationery and notebooks and stuff, but these notebooks are my favorite because they do like a full swing really easily. And they also have these like perfect like numbered like spots where you can number things. And then you can also like date it, which it's a simple thing, but I like it a lot because these are like project notebooks. So I'm nothing super high tech, but the way that I plan my videos is that during the week, I will pick my ideas and I will put them in here. And then as I come up with books that I want to recommend with that category, with that trope, I fill them in. So this is a video that's already up, so I can show you. Like this one is books with pining heroes. So I make these I try to recommend 10 books for every video that I do, because I feel like that's a good number that people won't have read every book that I recommend. That's important to me. And then I make a little box in the corner. And so what I do at the start of the week is I write the book title, the video titles, and I put the 10 boxes in place. And then as I have time, I will look through my Goodreads and think about it and fill it up. And then when it's full, I put a sticky on the tab to tell me that that list is ready to go. And then when I have time to film, I always have a video idea ready whenever I have the chance to film. So there's a little bit of like my YouTube tips. I'm very sophisticated. But it's just so that I never have to come up with a video idea on the spot, because I always have something planned. And this notebook is the perfect size that I have it in my work bag. So over my lunch break or when I'm bored in the office, I can pull this out and do it. Stickers, by the way, are from In Love and Words. She actually did these Outlander stickers, and they're freaking beautiful. And I put her stickers on all of my notebooks because I love them. So, okay. So that was random, but I'm going to try to film. Oh yeah, I was going to tell you what I was going to film. I'm going to film my weekly wrap up, which will have 14 books in it. And then I want to film a Mafia rec video. It's my 4th one already. And then I have an age gap one to do, because I realized I hadn't done an age gap video since last year. So I can do another one, which is great. My favorite tropes like Mafia and age gap, I try to like space them out and not like have them really close to each other. So, okay, I've now spent 8 minutes talking about not books. Let's talk about what I'm currently in the middle of. So, there's one book that I like need to make some progress in, and that is After Midnight by Teresa Medeiros. This is the Rake Appreciation Society book club pick. And it's funny, Crystal and I were talking that, because this book doesn't have an audio, like, anywhere. I could probably buy it on ebook and have Alexa read it to me, but I don't enjoy Alexa. I think she's a perfectly valid way to have your books read to you, but it just doesn't, like, work for me. And so when I have to read a book, specifically a historical romance, physically, it's very difficult for me, because my brain just gets, like, pulled in too many directions when I can't focus on the audiobook. But this book is supposed to be about a possible vampire, and this everyone is suspecting that maybe he's a vampire, and he's interested in this girl's sister, and so they get invited to a house party, I think, and then she herself meets him, and now she's really drawn to him too. So I mean, I'm excited to read this. A lot of people in the Discord have been loving it already. But I've only read 2 chapters, and then I haven't wanted to pick it up again. So I'm going to try to make some progress in that. Then I am 110 pages into All About Love, which is book 6 in the Sinster series, and this is the last one that is about the main 6 cousins. I think after this one, I want to read, is it Chattingsworth's book? But then I'm probably going to skip to the sisters, because my friend Jessin from Jessin Reads Romance says that those are some of her favorites. And I'm getting a little, like, bored by the series. I've really loved the first, like, 3 in this series. And then they just got a little boring for me, because the plot is like cookie cutter between each of them. Like there is someone who's murdered, and then the hero and the heroine are trying to solve the murder. And I don't really like romantic suspense, and I don't really appreciate it in my historical romance. So I love her writing. I love the way that she writes romance, but I don't like all the other elements that are in the story. So it makes it difficult for me. So, but I'm enjoying this. It's just that it's taking me a while. So I have this on audio that I'm reading. And then I spun my wheel last night because I have a spinner wheel of all of my TBR picks to help me when I like can't decide which one to read next. And In Love with a Wicked Man by Liz Carlyle came up. And so I started the audiobook on Scribd for this one. I love this step back. I used it on Step Back Saturday. I love her gripping his knee, and I love him like smelling her hair and talking in her ear. And this one is kind of an amnesia story where there's this woman, Kate, who she is actually the lady of the land, because she is part of a title that the title could actually be left to her as the oldest, which is kind of cool. So she is she a countess? I think she's a countess on her own with no man, which is really cool. Her grandpa taught her how to manage the estate. Granted, the state is falling down around their ears, but she has been able to get them profitable, and eventually they'll actually be like making a lot of money, which is really exciting. But it makes her an heiress, and it makes men like want her, because they would become an earl if they married her, which is kind of cool because that doesn't usually happen. But because she's the one with the title, she could make someone an earl, which is kind of great. But she's a spinster. She stays away from London. She doesn't do that. Then we have Edward, who is a gaming hell owner, and he happens to be taking some time away. He will do this thing where he gets fed up with his life and he'll go take a vacation. And so his man in London, his friends, they think that he's just on this little trip. And when he is going for a ride on his horse, he ends up in an accident. And to stop himself from hurting Kate, because she is like in the way of his horse, he kind of suicides. He doesn't suicide his horse, but he kind of like risks himself, and he ends up passed out. And when he wakes up, he can remember certain details, but he doesn't remember his name or like what he's been doing recently. And so she feels horrible that it's her fault that he's hurt. And so of course they're taking care of him. And, you know, she's already thinking that because they've kissed once so far. I'm 90 pages in already. And she's thinking that she would like to have a fling with him, because this person that she doesn't know anything about him, they live out in the country. It's not going to be a big risk. And this could be fun to have a fling with him. So that's where I'm at so far. He feels really guilty for kissing her. And she's like, I would have stopped you if I didn't want to kiss you. Like, you're making too big of a deal of it. So we'll see. So those are the ones that I'm currently in the middle of. And then books that I want to start. I want to read a couple Kindle books today. And boy, do I have a lot to choose from, right? Because I have a bazillion on here. So a couple that are catching my eye. I just got this one called Malice by Coralie June. Let me open that one. I actually don't know if I'm feeling super dark today, but there's a couple on my mind that I'll show you. So there's this one called Malice, and it says, there are 3 rules for being the best friends with a Mafia princess. Don't ask any personal questions, don't show up at her house unannounced, and don't ever let anyone know you're friends. For 3 years, I followed the rules. Vicky and I met once a week at the diner where I worked. I was her slice of normalcy. She was the one person I could confide in. It might have been unconventional, but it worked for us. One night, all hell broke loose, and I got caught up in a battle of bloodshed where we almost lost our lives. I ended up face to face with Vicky's dangerous older brothers, Anthony, William, and Nicholas, the made men of Kansas City mob. After fighting for my life and proving myself worthy, they brought me into their deadly work. It was glamorous but twisted. Torture, death, and crime followed me everywhere I went, chiseling away at parts of me until I wasn't the same anymore. Slowly, I betrayed my best friend, and I fell in love. Chances are they'll ruin me. This thing between us has deadly consequences. But in the criminal world, I'm learning that the rules don't apply when you're the boss. So what I love about that is that it is... Here, I'll show you the cover. This is the cover. Is that she's in the Mafia and he's not. I said this in a recent... Well, it probably wasn't recent. That I haven't seen... That I've read... a book where the girl is Mafia and the man isn't. Usually it's the other way around. And I really like this idea of him, like, joining the Mafia for her, which I feel like doesn't happen. And will he be good enough for a Mafia princess when he wasn't raised as one? So that's an option. This one just came out, and I actually found it a couple days before it came out, and I was like, fudge, I want to read that book. So that one. The other one is a Mafia one too, and it is starting the Underworld series by Sophie Lark, because I've read all her other ones. Let me let this load. And I know that, so this one's Ivan, that the third book in her Kingmaker series is going to have crossover with these. So I have a month before the Bully comes out. So I want to start the series. Dude, he's got pierced nipples. I love it. So I realized those were both Mafia, and I said I didn't want to read Dark, but I really want to read those. I do also have a one of my TBR picks that I could do. That is a contemporary, like, rom-com, I think. Let me show you that one. And this one is a workplace kitchen romance, and it's called Cocky Chef, which looks cool. His kitchen, his rules. I mean, if that's the chef, hello, sir. So, okay, this beginning clip was way too freaking long, but that is kind of my plans today. So attractive. I'm gonna go to the gym and hurt myself a little bit and then get on with my day. So chat soon. Hello everyone, checking back in. See, I told you I'd clean up real good. So it is like 6 hours later, and I haven't done much more reading since then, but I did get a lot done. I was good and went to the gym. I'm super sore and like tired, but it was totally worth it. I had myself a tasty breakfast. I filmed my wrap up. So that whole process usually takes 2 hours. It's my longest video that I do each week. I mean, y'all know those are usually between 40 minutes to an hour, because it's the time where I really dig into a book and let myself just like talk in detail about them. So if you're ever wondering about any book that I've read in the past 2 years, you gotta check out the weekly reading wrap-ups, because I talk about every book that I read is there. So for the past 2 years, I have a video about it. People ask me sometimes, and I'm like, when I do recommendation videos, sometimes I go into long explanations, but I'm really trying to be like quicker about those so that I can produce more of them. I know you guys don't mind longer videos, obviously. You know what I do here. But just for me and for production and getting them out there, I need to try to keep those ones at 20 minutes and not hour long. But if you like hearing me talk more in depth about books, definitely check out the weekly wrap-ups, because that's where I go into detail. I went a little bit like crazy with the eye makeup, but I also like it. It just got a little bit weird. I'm not a professional by any means. I do one thing. I can do it with different colors, but I do the same smoky eye every time I put on makeup. But sometimes I get a little more intense with the eyeliner. It's a thing. But yeah, so I got that done. And now it is 12:30. I didn't end up stopping to get groceries because I ended up calling my mom to wish her Mother's Day a day early and chatting with her. And so I literally drove right by the supermarket on my way home, which I only live 3 blocks from the supermarket, so it's not the end of the world by any means. So I'm going to do that. And then I'll probably stop at Barnes & Noble because I was good and didn't go last week. And there's some new releases that I want to pick up. And then when I get back, I'll have some lunch and I'll probably try to film another video. And then I'm going to try to read until it's time for the Maiden Lane live show. That's my plan. But Saturdays, I just try to get some stuff done. Like, I actually do most of my reading during the week. Like, Saturday is the day for filming and if I get a chance to see friends. But I read 8 hours a day during the week. So on the weekend, I usually read a little bit less, which is funny because I'm doing a reading vlog, but I'll get some reading done. It'll be fine. And if I don't, then I'll just make this longer than a weekend reading vlog and it'll be fine. So, anyway, and I did say I was probably going to need a nap today, and I may need a nap because I was up way too early for a Saturday. Like, it was not cool, but okay, yeah, so I'm going to run to Barnes & Noble. Maybe I will film a clip. I don't usually do that, but maybe I will because vlog reasons. So I promise to check back in when I've actually read some more, okay? Hello, time to check in. I am nice and rosy cheeks. I had a brandy Coke while we were doing the live show for Maiden Lane, and that always gets me flustered. And then we were talking about sexy heroes and heroines, and then I just get all red and rosy, and it's delightful. But it was super fun. That video will be up, of course. If you're interested in Maiden Lane, maybe it'll help push you into it. It is a big series to commit to, but it was so addictive and so much fun. And binging a historical romance series is something that I used to do all the time when I was younger. I would find new series and binge them all. And so it was just very like nostalgic to fall into a series and read, and I really loved it. So speaking of my reading, I have made some progress. I'm now at the 50% mark for In Love with a Wicked Man, and I'm really liking it. So something that I was surprised about is that the amnesia seems to be, it is wearing off rather quickly in the story, and the direction that the author is going is really intriguing to me because it's going to be more about their like class difference and like disparity in their lives than it is with like him remembering who he is or not, because our hero has this deep sense of like wrongness about himself. And so once he is like awake and, you know, talking with the heroine and trying to put together who he is, he has a feeling that he's someone who's not good. Like, he has this gut feeling. And so when he starts to remember who he is, that really confirms for him that he's not someone who is good. Now, the heroine does have some reservations about like, okay, I understand what you mean. That's fine, whatever. But like, you still shouldn't leave yet because you're sick and I want you. I don't want you to go. And she's like, I don't have any prospects here. It's not like I was saving myself for anyone, because she does already kind of have a past that it was kind of hurtful in her life. And so she just wants to like be around him, and she's really discovering that as she kind of like lets herself go when she's around him. And of course he just wants to protect her, and so we'll see where it goes. I hope that he's not going to like white fang her, which, in case you don't know what that means, it's when the hero or the heroine leaves the other one even though they want to be with them because they think it's best for them. And he's kind of right on the edge of doing that, but I also think he could be pulled back from that because he really wants her. So he's fighting between that bad, I keep using this because like what's good or bad, that bad part of himself that wants to just take her. And he's fighting against that because he wants to take her, but he doesn't want to ruin her. But yet, will he be like strong enough to hold out? And he really kind of wants to give in and at least spend more time with her. So I'm really liking this. So I didn't get as much read today as I wanted to, but I did say that I don't always get a ton read on Saturdays because I have a lot to do on Saturdays, and today with a live show that got in the way. But I do most of my reading in the evenings, if you guys don't know this, whether it's a weekend or not. So I plan to put the audiobook for this back on. I'm making some dinner, so I'm reheating what I made yesterday. I pre-made some meals for myself to help keep me on track because I have a weigh-in with my trainer on Monday and I needed to be good through the weekend. So I had a snack earlier that was low-fat Greek yogurt with fruit and honey, and it was really good. And now I'm heating up my turkey and bacon burger, and I have some French fries and some vegetables. So I'm actually really excited because the turkey burger was super good. We'll see how it heats up. I have some really good sauce to put on it, so hopefully it doesn't get too dry, because we'll see about heating it up if it stays good. But anyway, also one thing I want to start, I told Tiffany that I would start the Sophie Lark series. I know I mentioned that in the beginning, so I think that will be the ebook that I start. But for now, I'll listen to some audiobook, eat my dinner. I'll usually play some games on my phone while I'm listening to audiobook, and then I'll hopefully start Ivan around like 10:30 or 11 maybe, but we'll see. I also didn't sleep a lot last night, so I might fall asleep, and if I do, I'll usually read Ivan. That'll be what I read in the morning then. So okay, that's enough of that. Hey y'all, let me just make this stand up. Having struggles. Okay, let's see, make sure it doesn't fall over. It is Sunday afternoon. Having some of my energy bites that I made yesterday as my sweet treat. They're pretty good. They're just almond butter, honey, quick oats, chocolate chips, and then I put in 2 scoops of protein powder. The recipe didn't call for it, but I wanted it in there. So I just finished this book. I really enjoyed this. This was my first Liz Carlyle, as I said. And I was really impressed. I thought it was going to go down a track that I don't like, but something that I loved about it, because I think I mentioned this, I don't know if I mentioned it on this or if I talked to one of my friends about it, but I was really nervous that this would have the white fanging in it. And there was kind of a threat of that, because our hero was like, I'm not good enough for you, I should leave you, I'm going to ruin your reputation, I'm going to ruin everything. But he says, but I'll stay as long as you want me to stay, right? Because he doesn't feel strong enough to stay away from her on his own. So he's like, if you don't want me to stay away from you, well, then I'm just fucked, because I don't have the strength to do it on my own. And I really appreciated that. He didn't just run away. This was pretty sexy. There was multiple scenes in here. We're very drawn to each other. There did end up being one scene of attempted assault by not by our hero, but by someone else. And this someone else is kind of the main like villain. He's a bit of a putsy villain. Like, we're not really taking him seriously until all of a sudden we take him seriously. And so the villain actually ended up being the reason that I dropped this down to like, I ended up rating it a 4-star. I would say it's like about a 4.5-star for me, but it's more of like a 4.25. So I did just leave it as a 4 because I just didn't feel enough for it that it would be rated a 5. However, I definitely want to read more by this author. And the way that the like conflict got resolved, I did really appreciate it, because the situation we're in with this heroine, because she has a title, she's a baroness, she has her own title. She doesn't need a man to have the title. If she were to marry this guy, like, he doesn't take the title from her. Her kids will have the title because she is the one with the title. So for me, when there is this suggestion of like them like being together without being married, and it comes from her because she feels like that's the best way to convince him, because she knows how he feels about her. Like, she knows that he doesn't want to tarnish her, so she has to be the one to kind of push for it, because he doesn't want to overstep and ruin something for her. And that really worked for me, because as I've shared, like, the mistress trope in historical romance is a huge turnoff for me. Like, if a hero is pressuring a heroine to be his mistress because he has to marry for money, or he just doesn't feel like he's cut out for marriage, or like whatever his reasons are, he's the one with all the power. And when he says, I'm going to keep you as my side piece, I immediately am like, nope, no, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Even if she's okay with it, I don't like it. But in the case of this one, where he's not going to get anything out of it, in fact, she's not really risking anything if they do it, and she's the one who asks for it, I really liked it, because it didn't come across as like desperate or that's the only thing I can get from him. She was really trying to see what would work for him, because she knows that he wouldn't want to marry her in case it would like ruin her, right? So I was surprised that that worked for me, but it did, because it was like turning the mistress trope around, and instead it was like the lover trope. Like, she was asking him to be her lover instead of him asking her to be his mistress, if that makes sense. And you could just tell in every interaction with her how much he just adores her. In the beginning of this book, he's calling her goddess. Instantly, if a man calls a woman goddess, I'm here. He also says in one thing, he's like, Kate, I burn for you. I cannot keep away from you. Done. So there were so many things I liked about it. I think relationship-wise, like the romance-wise, I would give this a 5. But as a story as a whole, it's like a 4.25 because of some weird stuff they did with the plot. So I do recommend this. You'll probably see this pop up in other places. So then I did start Ivan late last night when I was reading before bed, and I got a little ways in, and then during church I did read a little bit more. So I'm on chapter 8 of Ivan. I'm gonna finish my snack, and then I'm gonna get into Ivan, because my friend Tiffany started it and she got further into it than me, and she's like, this is really, really good. And I was like, okay, I can tell it already. The setup of this one is that Ivan is the head of the Petrov Bratva, so one branch of the Russian Mafia, and he's a very calm and collected head of the Bratva. And our heroine, Sloane, is an American assassin. So she has connections with this broker, and the broker gets the hits, and then he's in contact with her and tells her what the hit is. So we get introduced to her at the beginning when she's undercover as a stripper to take out this politician. And then she usually takes a break for a while because it takes a lot out of her. She gets this offer to do this hit. And she's like, I don't want to do it. And he's like, it's $500,000. And she's like, whoa, I could almost retire on that much money. Or I could take a break for quite a few years if I were to get that. But then she takes the hit and she discovers why it's $500,000, because it's the head of the Bratva. So she is able to infiltrate his home, gets above him, has a syringe of chemicals that she's going to quickly get him and get out, and he awakes and he catches her. So this all happens pretty quickly in the beginning. Instead of instantly killing her, though, he needs to try to neutralize the threat. So he needs to find out who put this hit out on him. But that's the thing, is that that's why they use the broker, so that if an assassin gets kidnapped, there's no way for it to get back to the person who put out the hit. So the thing is that Ivan is fascinated by her. He is intrigued that it's a female assassin. He's intrigued by how calm and collected she is. And he's instantly super attracted to her. And he has visions of breaking her. But in traditional like Sophie Lark fashion, in my opinion, we're very clear how dark this situation is, but also the way that she writes inside Ivan's mind. You realize that he's very intrigued by her. He's not looking forward to causing her pain. He like would if he has to. But I just like the way Sophie Lark does things like this. And especially after reading a Mafia book last week that was just so intense that I actually felt sick a couple of times. This one, it's like, okay, this is going to be a classic, like Captor Captive. It's going to be really sexy. It's going to be a lot of things that I like. So I'm very excited to get further into this one. So I'll update you when I'm further in or when I finish, and then we'll see if I'm going to try to read one more in this or not, because I know that I already talked enough and I could definitely have this be a vlog, how long it is, but I'll check back in soon. Hi! So I figured it was time to pop in. And I'll probably keep going until I finish the ones I'm in the middle of now. But I finished Ivan. I actually finished it very quickly because they were so fun. Seriously, like, they just like really clicked with each other all of a sudden. I think it's because, I mean, they're both part of like a criminal thing, and basically when he doesn't decide to kill her right away, it's like there's only a couple ways that this can go. So I won't ruin it for you. I gave it 4 stars. It's funny because I messaged the author about, like, I tagged her in a thing about it, like, this is so fun. She's like, yeah, this whole series is like shorter books because they were her first ones. And she was still like learning her groove and everything. I still stand by, like, I feel like Sophie Lark is a great intro to Mafia because there's the terminology you can get used to, but the stories are just a bit like lighter so far. I mean, some of them in The Brutal Birthright are a bit darker, but then they're also not like, you know, terrifying like they are in some. So I stand by that recommendation right now. So also I'm having my after dinner snack, which looks gross, but it's actually Greek yogurt at the bottom, and then there's a layer of fruit, and then there is a layer of peanut butter, and then there's a layer of bananas, and then Nutella on top. It's so good. I'm not like saying it's healthy, but it's better than ice cream, right? I did end up going for my walk tonight too, and that's when I started my next book, which is The Billionaire Boss Next Door, which is part of the series that Max Monroe has. That's like the Billionaire Bad Boy series. And I've actually read the second one in this series, but I never read this one. So it's good. I forget how bombastic theirs are. Like when Max and Monroe do a enemies to lovers, they go like all out. But I do really love their scenarios. So this one is this girl named Greer. She's going to be designing a hotel in New Orleans. And she meets the guy who's going to be her boss but doesn't know he's her boss. They get off onto a bad start. Then they meet each other again at a masked party, and they share a kiss without knowing. And then they find out the next day that she's been hired to design this hotel. And so they met in a different city at one of the other hotels that the company owns. So then she moves to New Orleans, and she moves into a building that her best friend's parents own. And so she gets given an apartment there, they're letting her stay there for like a reduced rent because they want to help her out. And the boss, who is only in town for them building this, he is going to be right next door to her. So I'm already like halfway through it. It was funny because this was the one case where though, so this book is on Anyplay. And I love Anyplay. If you follow my channel, you know that they reached out to me like a month and a half ago to try out their app, and I really liked it. But one of the downsides of them, because it's a newer app, is you can only go up to 1.75 speed, which for most books is okay with me because I like to listen between 1.75 and 2.0 is like where I sit. But what happens is if you run into a book where the narrators naturally talk really slow, then it's not fast enough. And so for this one, it just was not fast enough. It was driving me crazy. It sounded like they were talking in slow motion, which is something that happens once you get used to listening to books really quickly. If you try to go down, it just really stands out to you. So, I haven't used many scrib credits or my scribs since I've had Anyplay. So I was like, I want to listen to this book, but if I try to listen at 1.75, it's not going to work. So I went, and sure enough, most of Max Monroe's books are on Scribd, so I grabbed it there. And I'm listening to this one actually at 2.5 speed because that narrator is so fucking slow. And it's annoying because they both don't talk at the same speed. Have you ever had that happen when it's a dual POV? Like the hero is talking faster, so I have to turn his chapters down, but then the heroine is talking slower, so I have to speed hers up. So it's actually kind of a pain in the butt. But I'm getting used to the male voice being faster, so I'll just keep it at 2.5. But I'll probably finish that tonight. And then I might start the next book in the Sophie Lark series because they're pretty quick reads. So I'm just like hanging out watching some YouTube, and then I'll either like wrap this up at the very end of the night with whatever I finished, or we'll wrap it up. So, see you later. Hey. Okay, so I figured I would pop in to wrap up. This is the next morning because when I finished the books that I was going to read, I was too tired to film a clip and I wanted to go to bed. So, we started looking like a hot mess. Well, I'm looking like a hot mess. It's totally fine. So, where I left off. So, I did end up finishing The Billionaire Boss Next Door by Max Monroe. And unfortunately, I was not a fan of this one. I feel like Max Monroe kind of really let me down. They really let me down with this one. Because usually I know exactly what I'm getting into with one of their books. Like, I know that it's going to be pretty bombastic. Everything's going to be very dramatic and overblown. But at the end of the day, it's going to be really sexy, really fun, and kind of heartwarming. And the issue that I had with this one, sorry, the lighting there is bugging me. Come over here. Is that they stayed in the hate part of the Hate to Love until way too far into the book. Like it was 60% where they were still like hating on each other. And then at that point, they still like didn't have anything happening between them. And so there wasn't even a kiss between them until 72 fucking %. And then there isn't a love scene for another couple percent. And then it was fucking closed door. Like, they had explicit foreplay, but all the sex scenes were like not there. And I was like, what are you guys doing? Because their books are never like that. But then also, the couple was only together for like 4 chapters. Like, they're fooling around, having their thing, and then they are apart for 5 months. So I literally was skimming through the last 10% because I was like, fuck this book. Like, what did you guys do? What was this about? Like, they needed to have had like a hate fuck earlier in the book or something where there was still like sexy times happening. They could have still been angry at each other. Is fine, but I was just like, so all it was them bickering back and forth for 70%. So I gave that like 2.5 stars. I rated it as a 3 because I always hesitate for the only reason that I dock points to be that there isn't sex. Because I'm like, okay, Jen, don't be so horny all the time. But still, I'm just saying. But then, after that was a disappointment, I went right in and read Snow, which is the next book in the Sophie Lark Underworld series. And this was amazing. The setup of this is that we have this girl. These, again, are taking place in Russia. And she just got done with medical school. And she comes home from college. And her family is in a lot of debt to the Bratva. Like, so much debt. And they go by the family restaurant, and she sees that, like, her father's being threatened. And she's like, what am I going to do about this? So she ends up going to meet Krupin, who is the boss where they're at. And she offers herself. And I was like, oh, God, what is she doing? She makes a deal to basically be his indentured doctor for 20 years. And in exchange for that, he will pardon the family's debt. He will buy the restaurant from them, but still let her family run it. And he will pay her a salary monthly so that they still can, like, eat and live. But in return, she gets given a cell phone, and she needs to be on his beck and call. So that's our heroine setup. This one was very interesting in the fact that the two don't meet for a good part of the book, but, like, I was anticipating them meeting so much that I didn't even mind. And these books are pretty quick. Like, they're not as drawn out as some of her other, so everything is moving really quick. So then we have our hero, Snow, who is a underground boxer. And he's really making his way. And what he wants to do is he wants to earn enough money to go to America and be part of the, like, WFC, whatever, in, like, Las Vegas and stuff. So the Bratva is going to be having an underground tournament. It's going to be like a roving tournament that's going to be 4 rounds. And each round has a prize. And the end prize is a lot of money. And this happens to be that Sasha, the heroine, is on call to be the doctor at this fight. You know, fixing people's noses and stuff like that. So they end up meeting each other when he gets, like, a cut in his face because someone's fighting dirty with weighted gloves, and he ends up cut on his face. And so they end up meeting in this just very interesting encounter where he comes into her infirmary and just really sees her for a minute. Like, sees her. And the thing is she's absolutely beautiful, and she's a virgin, and she tries to kind of make herself, like, not threatening, but, like, not worth the trouble to some of the other Bratva, but it's very clear that they are circling her like vultures too. And Snow is just kind of like this sweet, beautiful woman is in a terrible, like, position. But yeah, they keep kind of running into each other at different places, and they're just so drawn to each other. And it's just so sweet, but it was also like, I had that anxious feeling in my chest the whole time, because I'm like, neither one of them is actually part of the Mafia. And so in this one, we were looking at the Mafia as the enemy, for sure. Because we know that, like, they're not just going to let them be together, because she's basically seen as Krupin's property for 20 years. And there are talks of her being, like, part of business deals, and he can basically do whatever he wants with her, and it is terrifying. So I loved this one so much. I just gobbled it up. I gave it 5 stars. Something else I just want to say, and I will wrap this up because I got to get to work, but something about Sophie Lark is that every book that I've read so far, the plots may have tropes we've seen before, but you've never seen them done quite the way that Sophie Lark does. Like, every plot has been so unique. Like, so unique. Like, there were shades of this book that reminded me of, like, Twisted Loyalties a little bit, because Fabiano is the enforcer for Kimura, and Snow, they're trying to recruit him to be an enforcer for them. And like, she has never been a part of the Bratva before, in the same way that like Leona wasn't, and you know, stuff like that. So there were shades of the same, but the unique way that Sophie Lark combines those elements just blows me away, and it was so addicting. It was so addicting. So I was glad that I read one more book so that I could end this vlog on a positive note. If you're not reading Sophie Lark yet, but you love Mafia, I feel like you really need to give her a try. Like, she's so good. So anyway, thank you so much for watching this vlog. As usual, they're kind of just all over the place when I do a reading vlog, but I hope you really enjoyed it, and make sure you subscribe to this channel and like my content. It really helps me, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.